Living with celiac disease or food allergy can feel incredibly isolating.
They didn't understand how I felt. They didn't really care about how I felt.
It's a daily battle that not everyone sees in a world that doesn't always
I
understand.
was gaining weight all the time, even though I was so active.
But it is also a journey of discovery where science and a passionate community stand right behind you, helping you move from just surviving to truly
Social
thriving.
Llama, not a restaurant or bistro. This is my house.
Your story is powerful, inspiring, and it's absolutely worth sharing.
What if I brought all of these gluten-free businesses that I'm finding together?
Welcome to Life Without Gluten. I am continuing a conversation with Jedid, a registered dietitian and a recently diagnosed celiac. We're about to bust some gluten-free myths circulating online and review popular gluten-free snacks for their nutritional value.
I give you a few statements that are out there online, and if you don't mind just telling me whether it's fact or fiction, feel free to elaborate a little bit on it, because I find really interesting, some of these statements. So, first one goes, European wheat is safe for celiacs because it's lower in gluten. What do you say to that?
So that's definitely fiction. Okay. So any wheat grain will have the protein gluten in it. Mm-hmm. Now, in North America, though, they do usually make breads with additional wheat gluten to make the bread even more fluffier. Okay. But that's because they add it as an additional ingredient. The wheat grain itself has similar amounts of gluten. There's no difference between Europe or North America. There might on top of that also be additives in the breads, right? That can also be causing symptoms for some patients. But yes, there's definitely gluten, and even a little bit of crumbs of wheat bread, right, will cause that immune reaction where the body starts producing antibodies, there's inflammatory cytokines being produced, and then if you're having enough exposure, right, frequently enough, with enough quantity of gluten, then you will still have the lining of the digestive tract being damaged.
Yeah, so that's definitely fiction. Yeah, don't try it, don't do it.
That's right.
Next one is sourdough is safe because the fermentation eats the gluten.
So there's definitely gluten-free sourdough bread if the bread is made with a gluten-free grain. Okay. But if it is a sourdough rye or spelt or barley or maybe wheat bread, the fermentation breaks down the carbohydrates. Okay. So it doesn't change anything about the protein gluten. Mm-hmm. So the protein content will still be the same as before the fermentation process. So it's not a safe product, definitely fiction.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, this one I see actually a lot on forums. So gluten can be absorbed through skin via shampoos, lotions, or Play-Doh, for example, maybe even lipstick. True? So fiction or fact?
Yeah, so definitely fiction. We don't have any restrictions on using lip balms, toothpaste, skincare products, because the gluten protein is a large molecule. It doesn't absorb through the skin. Okay. So unless maybe if it is a child who is eating lip balm or swallowing the toothpaste, but then it would have to be in enough quantity, reach the small bowel, then it could cause any problems, but this is not very likely. And we don't recommend patients switching skincare products or toothpaste or lip balm, anything like that.
Yeah. Got it. Okay, so fiction again. All right.
That's right.
I like this one because this one I feel like I hear a lot. Also, you can eventually outgrow celiac disease. For that matter, I would want to ask you about food allergies as well for wheat. Mm-hmm. So what do you say to that?
Yes. So wheat allergy can actually develop in infants, and you are able to outgrow that as an infant. But celiac disease, once it's developed and it's active disease, then you will have it for the rest of your life. So you will have to keep following a strict gluten-free diet to avoid any immune response, right, and stay healthy.
Yeah, okay. Fiction too. All right, and the last one, a little bit of gluten once in a while acts like an exposure therapy to make you stronger, so it's not gonna hurt. Fact or fiction?
Yes, that's also fiction. Okay. So again, if there's a little bit of gluten that enters your body, there's this immune reaction. your body starts producing these antibodies, inflammatory components. In enough quantity, frequently enough, it will eventually then cause the lining of the digestive tract to be damaged. And unfortunately, it's the very first part of the small bowel that gets affected. And that's the area where, for example, fats, folate, calcium, iron are absorbed. So this is why those deficiencies are also more seen in the celiac active disease population.
Yeah, got it. Okay, perfect. Okay, so all fiction. Okay, I appreciate you, going over these because, like I said, when I went on forums, and these are somehow circulating on the internet online. So
we need to do a lot of myth busting.
yes, I agree. Okay, good. So I think, and we'll go into our last sort of segment, which will be the talking about the practical living, I guess, and living gluten-free specifically, the diets that we should follow. I know you mentioned, I think earlier, I've watched some of your things or some interviews that you did, that Mediterranean diet is very prominent, and it seems to be like the more well-balanced diet. And so I do want to talk to you a little bit more about that. Why is it often maybe recommended? And is it better than other diets, like a plant diet or any other diets?
Mm-hmm. So the Mediterranean diet is often recommended. It's been researched a lot, mostly for prevention or management of chronic diseases like heart disease, diabetes, fatty liver disease as well, helping to manage weight, because it is rich in plant foods, so they're high in fiber. It's also rich in fish, seafood, so these have healthy anti-inflammatory omega-3 fats and protein, low in processed food meats, so avoiding deli meats and sausages, hamburgers that are ready-made or frozen meats and so on. And then it's rich in olive oil. Extra virgin olive oil is very high amount of polyphenols. And that also helps to bring down inflammation, but more the chronic type of inflammation. As opposed to the plant-based diet, it could be vegetarian or vegan, depending on how strict it is. So the vegetarian diet would eliminate meat, right? But then you wouldn't get fish and seafood, for example, unless it's a pescatarian diet. High in plant foods as well, right? For any of the plant food diets. Unfortunately, we see when patients with celiac disease start following a vegetarian diet or vegan diet that they're having a harder time reaching some of these nutrients like iron and zinc in their diet. So then we have to be very careful that they're choosing very wisely or taking supplements to help manage any deficiency.
Yeah, because I would think that would be common, right, with a vegetarian or a vegan diet.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
And so what do you typically recommend for those that maybe would want to stay, let's say, on a vegetarian diet? Do you just, do they have to take supplements, I guess, or what would be the solution there, let's say with the vegetarian diet?
Yes. So often they would be on like a iron supplement with vitamin C added to it to help the absorption of the iron, and vitamin B12 in some cases if there's not dairy in the diet. Which dairy is very important because it doesn't only provide calcium, vitamin D, but it also has the B12, it has zinc, copper, magnesium, phosphorus. All those minerals are stored in our bones, and so you would have to find plant-based beverages that are fortified with those nutrients to properly replace it, and then still find a good protein source as well. There's some pea protein milks or some soy milk. Those would be good alternatives.
What do you think, I just wanted to ask you this, what do you think sort of in terms of cow's milk versus the goat's milk? What is your perspective as a dietitian? I'm curious, like is there a better alternative, let's say out of the two, or is it just, like how do they compare?
First, if a person's not vegan, right, I usually recommend going with lactose-free milk as a first step. If they don't like that, right, then we can look at maybe the goat's milk or sheep milk, but they have distinct flavors, right? So often patients don't like those flavors, but they are sometimes better tolerated, and then they would be good alternatives.
The reason I'm asking is just because I've personally, so we've been drinking in our household actually goat milk for a number of years. So although I agree with you, has very distinct flavor, but I think from my understanding from what I've read, it's just a better digested, I guess, than the cow's milk in particular. So I was just curious about your opinion on that. So
Yeah, I don't know too much about
too much
that, to
about
be
that. Okay,
honest.
okay. No worries. No worries there. So talk to me maybe a little bit about the potential benefits, but also the downsides of the gluten-free, diet.
Yeah, so the benefits are that with following a strict gluten-free diet, right, that you can hopefully help heal the digestive tract so that there's better nutrient absorption, that your symptoms are better managed, and that long term, right, you can prevent developing chronic diseases. The downsides are that it is pretty burdensome, right? You're constantly confronted with having to read food labels, preparing foods at home.
Yeah.
Most of the people tend to want to cook their own food because that's when we are in control,
Yes.
as opposed to eating out. And then also avoiding the cross-contamination can be quite difficult, challenging to manage that, especially if there's other gluten sources in the household, right? We don't recommend family members to go gluten-free because of these poor quality of gluten-free products that is out on the market. Because wheat is actually a very nutrient-dense food.
Right.
Right? It provides healthy inulin-type fiber. It has iron, it has zinc, it has magnesium, selenium, all these B vitamins, right?
Yeah.
If you're choosing a whole wheat flour product. So it would help with, for example, managing or preventing constipation, right? Which in a gluten-free population, that's something that we would see, that patients often struggle with constipation because the fiber is lacking in their
The
diet.
fiber intake is not enough, right? Okay.
That's right. Yeah.
I didn't think about that. Yeah. Okay. And I also wanted to ask you about basically long-term health kind of benefits maybe, or like if somebody is on gluten-free diet and is celiac, right, or with weird, let's say, allergies, how does that affect their long-term health being on gluten-free diet?
Yes, we see different responses to following a strict gluten-free diet. It really depends on what the quality is of the diet. So for example, some patients in the beginning of starting the gluten-free diet, they cut out a lot of snacks because they haven't found alternatives for them.
Okay.
So they might lose some weight in the first months, but then they tend to regain it. Majority of people, they start finding alternatives. If they're not as healthy of snack foods, then they might gain even more weight than where they started off as their usual weight. So we always have to monitor that patients don't keep continuously gaining weight and go into the overweight, obese category, so that they're often then accumulating too much body fat.
Yeah.
So we have a clinic on Fridays where we're able to measure the patient's body composition.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And also their resting energy needs. So we would know, based on what the machine is able to calculate, indirect calorimetry, it measures your metabolic rate. So we can see if your metabolism is high, if your metabolism is low, or if it is as expected. If you're over consuming calories, we can see that from food records. So then we can find out what would be some personal goals, the dietary changes that we can further implement to manage that from
That's
happening.
so interesting. So you have a machine for that? Can you talk to me a little bit about that? I don't think I've heard that.
Yes, it's called indirect calorimetry.
Okay.
And basically the machine feeds oxygen. So you get a clear hood over your head with a tube that goes to the machine. You lie down on one of these exam beds just for 20 minutes. That's what the measurement takes, 20 minutes. And you have to lie still, not fall asleep.
Okay.
The patient has to be fasting for 5 hours
Okay.
before. So they usually skip their breakfast and they come in the morning. Then after the 20 minutes, the machine basically shows what their basal metabolic calories are that the body needs to maintain in rest, right? To maintain that particular weight. So it's very highly dependent on if it's a female male patient, do they have active disease that may increase their metabolism? Do they have maybe some metabolic conditions like hypothyroidism? What is their muscle mass? Their physical activity level is basically part of that as well.
So is it part of the assessment if they come, let's say, to you, right, as a dietitian, or is it part of, is it like some sort of separate exam?
It's a separate visit. It's for the patients who have unwanted weight gain or weight loss.
Okay.
So if they're over consuming on the gluten-free diet, right, and we would do that measurement so that we can then figure out what are the foods that you're over consuming and how much do you have to decrease your caloric intake to stay within that healthy range.
That's so neat. I think
it's very individualized, and I don't think there are many places where patients have access to such a measurement.
Yeah, that's amazing. Wow,
yes,
okay.
It's unique to our clinic.
That's great. And so I also wanted to ask you this question. So going out and dining out, it's always sort of I wouldn't say a risk, but a concern, right, for somebody who is on gluten-free diet, whether they're celiac or have food allergies. How do you do you have any suggestions for someone how to approach that situation? Maybe some tips or something that they can go and ask certain questions to feel a little bit more safer, right, dining out?
Yeah, so I usually recommend calling in advance to the restaurant and asking them, telling them that you have celiac disease, that you have to be on a strict gluten-free diet, that a little bit of gluten will cause symptoms or at least that immune reaction. What do they have available on their menu that they can make gluten-free? Right? So if they can recommend some things, then it's more likely that they're able to prepare it safely, as opposed to you telling, could you make this item gluten-free, right? It might make it a little bit more challenging. So then you'd have to review the ingredients of the item that they're recommending. So making sure it doesn't have any of the wheat, rye, barley, oats, gluten ingredients. And then you'd have to also ask them, how do you avoid cross-contamination?
Yes.
Right?
That's so important, yeah.
And then usually based on the answer, you get a sense of how well versed they are in accommodating, making it gluten-free. But yes, you have to ask about these hidden food sources as well, right? So sauces and dressings and marinades. Do they have a separate fryer? If they're cooking rice in broth, right? Is there any ingredient in the broth that contains gluten? Or maybe there's malt vinegar, malt extract, malt barley in any of the sauces.
Yeah, even in the dressing of the salad, right? Possibly.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. I have had own soy sauce.
Oh, okay.
And then they were able to use it in their kitchen.
Oh,
so
okay. That's a good tip.
they were very open.
So you would bring your own, and then I don't think I've heard that before. That's a great tip. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So would you call ahead of time then? And
Yes.
ask them? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, I called ahead of time because then they indicated that they didn't have a gluten-free soy sauce, so they had to eliminate all the soy sauce foods, right? So then I told them, if I bring my own, would you be able to use it and give me that same dish with the soy sauce? Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I think that's a great tip. Okay, so Jedid, I think just to finish off our sort of conversation today, I wanted to do a quick game. I brought a few snacks that I think are quite prominent out there in the gluten-free market, and I've tried most of them, I think, as well. And I just wanted you, like in real time, to read the label and kind of talk a little bit about it, what your thoughts are. So we'll call this game Keep, Toss, and Swap. So do we keep the actual snack? Do we toss it away? Or do we swap it with something else? Okay? Yeah, let's do it. Okay. Okay, so let's start, right? So pick one, okay? Pick one and let's talk about it.
Okay, let's start with these ones.
Okay.
Yes. Many patients like eating these kinds of crunchy snacks that are like an alternative to potato chips, right? Yeah. So I think because this is made of legumes, this is actually a keep.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And usually what I look at is the ingredient list. So making sure that sugar is not the first ingredient, right? And this one is made with green peas as the first ingredient. So that's a very good ingredient to have as the first one. And then you can read in the nutrition facts panel more information about, let's say, protein and fiber. Sugars is very low in this product. It's more savory snack. So then we would have to look at sodium, for example. And for this product, one serving provides 135 milligrams sodium. Anything that has less than 140 milligrams is considered low sodium.
Really?
So this is actually a good salty snack, but not too high in salt.
Okay, okay.
Right?
I'm so pleased because this is like a thing in our household, this particular one. And you know they have, I don't know if you've tried the lentil loops. They also have, that's like a new product.
No, I haven't tried that one.
They have the lentil
Oh,
loops, so
good.
it literally looks like a circle, like a loop.
Yes.
But the main ingredient is lentils, which is
That's amazing.
great, yeah.
And just one serving I see as 9 grams of protein.
Okay.
That's amazing. That's like eating half, like two ounces of chicken breast, right? So that's, well, 1 ounce of chicken breast. 1 ounce of chicken breast equivalent.
So pretty good. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So harvest snaps, I guess, are good. Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Pick another one.
Maybe the Oreo cookies?
Yes. This is, I feel like, is pretty popular as well because, I mean, obviously, who doesn't like Oreo cookies, right? But I'm curious to hear because, I mean, how much sugar is in this? How much of, you know,
let's
what's
have a
going
look.
on here?
So for 3 cookies, it has 25 grams of carbohydrates, which 1 gram of fiber, and then 14 grams of sugar. So each teaspoon of table sugar has 4 grams
Okay.
of table sugar. So this would be 3.5 teaspoons, right?
Is it for
in
3
the
cookies?
3 cookies.
Oh my goodness.
So it's
so 3
teaspoon in
cookies has
each.
3.5 teaspoons of sugar.
That's right.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
it is quite high, and then there's no fiber to slow down the absorption of the sugar, right? So yeah, this would be choose less often, right?
Okay.
So I don't want to eliminate it from the diet, but just in special occasions as a special treat. We say usually try to have 80% of your calories coming from high nutrition dense foods,
Okay.
and then the other 20% calories can come from a more processed food.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So we kind of like just trade lightly, I guess, with this one, right? Just
Yes.
See how, okay.
If you can find an alternative, right, that is the same palatability, taste,
But less sugar, maybe.
but less sugar, or more fiber, more protein, then it would be a good alternative.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Let's move on to something else.
Let's try these thins, the good thins. So many patients like to eat rice
Okay.
crackers or a rice-based product for the crackers. I usually say if you're not feeling full, so on top of the rice crackers, it's important to put something that's more filling.
Okay.
So peanut butter, avocado, what else can we think of? Like cheese. So a good protein, high fiber source.
Pumpkin seed butter.
Yep, something like that. Sunflower seed butter if
Yeah.
you're taking it to school or so. So then it would be a good choice. But it would not be a good replacement for a slice of bread,
Okay.
right? So because then you're not getting fiber out of this product.
I see.
So if you're looking at the label, 3/4 cup of these crackers, it has 0 grams fiber.
Okay.
No
Yeah.
fiber,
So
no
literally
fiber.
no fiber at all.
Yeah, because it's very puffed, right? And it's white rice, so it's refined.
We find, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so if you can find an alternative, there are crackers out there made of brown rice, made of quinoa. Those would be better alternatives for crackers.
For crackers, yeah.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's see. Next.
So cookies.
Cookies, yeah. I think Char is pretty popular. I noticed. I don't know if have you tried this company before? It's from Europe, right? I think they're
Yes.
from Europe.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, and they have many different products.
Yes.
There's
Breads
a lot of
and-
breads that patients enjoy eating.
This is, of course, a highly processed food,
Right.
cookies, and it's made of like white refined ingredients. Corn flour is the first ingredient, and then it's got chocolate and sugar, palm oil, butter. So these are all refined ingredients. Again, eat in moderation, right? So if you can find an alternative that you enjoy as much, then try to choose the alternative.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. All right.
Good. And then these made good
Made Good.
crackers.
Super popular brand, I think, in the gluten-free community. They have a ton of different things. I mean, from my kids take the bars, the soft baked bars to school.
Oh yes, the oatmeal bars.
The oatmeal bars, yeah, all sorts of things. What do you think about this particular?
Yeah, so this is made of sweet potato. Let's see what other ingredients it contains. So this is misleading because it promotes sweet potato, but then
Right,
the first ingredient is rice flour,
Oh, okay.
right? So white rice flour. The second ingredient, though, is chickpea flour.
Okay.
So that's good to know. But still, you don't know from reading the ingredient list how much of it is rice flour, how much is
The proportions, you mean, yeah?
the chickpea flour, right? They go from highest weight to lowest weight, but you'd have to guess kind of how much of each ingredient is in there. And then the sweet potato puree is the fourth ingredient.
Okay.
It has sunflower oil, which is very healthy.
Provides
Is it?
monounsaturated
Yeah.
fats.
Okay. I was gonna ask you because like there's a thing going on social media about seed oils right now.
Oh,
And I don't know if
yes.
it's been for a while, but that seed oils are now the evil and sort of the enemy.
know.
Do you have anything on that to add? Because I'm curious about your opinion on seed oils.
Yeah, we
Don't. There have been many scientific articles after that came out in the media that have debunked that because they're very rich in monounsaturated fats, just like olive oil, right? And so they're anti-inflammatory as opposed to saturated fats from, for example, coconut oil or palm kernel oil. So it's much healthier,
Much healthier.
contributes to health rather than that it causes inflammation and chronic disease.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So for this product, I would again look at the sodium. So this one is slightly above what the cutoff is.
Yeah.
It's 160 milligrams sodium per serving. And then we're looking at 12 crackers, 1 gram fiber, so very low in fiber.
Yeah.
Again, don't replace it for your slice of high fiber bread, but as a snack in the 20% calorie category, this would be a tasty option, I would say.
What would you say? So I know you talked about sodium, so it should be about below the 140, I think you said, milligrams, right? And what about fiber? What typically for a snack, what would be good, do you think, like in terms of the amount?
I would say 2 grams of fiber
2 grams.
for a serving.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. One slice of whole wheat bread would have 2 grams fiber.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Okay. We just have just a few more left. So again, I think these are.
These are very similar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very
So these
similar,
are made
right?
with oats,
Yeah.
and so this company does a very good job in making sure that the oats are sorted well and that they're tested regularly and
Yeah.
making sure they're less than 20 parts per million.
I think their facilities, if I'm not mistaken, are gluten-free, right?
Yes,
Facilities.
they have a separate facility that only makes the gluten-free products.
Yeah.
And it's also nut-free, so it's great for kids to take to school as well.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah, high in fiber.
Yeah.
So
Okay, good.
great choice.
Great choice. Okay. Good.
Keep.
The cookie. I'm curious about this one. It is something that, again, I have seen emerging, the Allergy Smart. I don't know if they do any other products at all, but the cookies have been kind of out there.
So
This product, the first ingredient is gluten-free oat flour.
Okay.
So because I haven't called this manufacturer, I would be curious to know how they're handling their oats, right? So do they follow a purity protocol to completely avoid any contamination to start with? Or do they end up using mechanically sorted oats? So that would be a good question to ask. And based on the way that they give me the answer, I would be saying keep or swap. Yeah, because there are other oat products that would maybe be a better alternative, like these Made Good
The Made
bars,
Good
right?
bars,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can also buy oat flour and then make your own oatmeal cookies, right? Or chocolate oat cookies.
Do you recommend or do you suggest for a consumer, right? Is it good to give the company a call maybe and ask them if it's like, is it such a thing as,
Yes.
do you promote that? Okay, yeah.
Yep.
I would recommend that they call them because the more phone calls they get, the more transparent they need to become, right? In showing us that this is a trusted product. Yeah, if it says gluten-free on the label, it has to be gluten-free. Like it cannot have more than the 20 milligram per kilogram of that food, or they can get a fine, right, from the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. So if you get symptoms from eating a product that you think had too much gluten, you should connect with Celiac Canada or with the Canadian Food Inspection Agency so that they can then investigate that further.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, perfect. All right. And then we are just on to the fruit bars. So I think these are pretty prominent. So we got Bob Snail. I don't know if you've seen that one. And then there is this one here as well. The bear, I guess, fruit rolls too.
Yeah, so this looks like the only ingredient is mango.
Mango, yeah.
So there are no preservatives, additives in this. So I would say this is a great choice. It's not sweetened in any way, so it's just the plain mango. So that would be a good choice.
choice,
It's like buying dried fruit,
Right.
right? So, yep, definitely safe.
Yep.
Yeah, so these are, again, fruit rolls. And if you look at the ingredients, made with apples, pears, raspberries, and black carrot extract. So there are no additives, no sugar added. It's plain fruit and then carrot. So this is, again, a good product to eat. And this actually has 2 grams of fiber per unit.
Okay, which is what you...
And that's equivalent to a serving of fruit. So if you were to get 1 banana or an apple, that would be the same amount of fiber you would get from the fresh fruit.
Yeah, good to know. Yeah, good to know. Okay, and the last one is, I don't know if they can see this one, but That's It, the company. Now, the one thing I wanted to ask you about, they do promote the probiotics and the prebiotics in the product. Now, I wonder if you can take a look and tell me, is it actually, do they add it in there? It's, you know, and what do you think about that?
So this product is made with apples, mangoes, and then it's got live bacteria, 2 different kinds, two different kinds because it says or. So it's got 2 different bacterial strains in there. I haven't heard of these bacterial strains, so I'd be interested in looking up at some research of how it would promote health. But then again, it's usually not that specific product, right, that they have tested to make sure that these are live, active bacteria. That would be important to know. And then the prebiotic, I assume that's basically the fruit that it is made of, right, that feeds these bacteria. So because they live off of fibers, so the apples and the mango would then feed these strains. In general, there's no research done in the celiac population sufficiently to recommend particular probiotics, so it's more of a trial and error. And if the patient wants to take probiotics, we usually recommend making sure it's gluten-free. And then also taking it for a month. If the symptoms don't improve, then there's no point in keep taking it, right?
I see. Okay.
They're often very expensive, so I don't know what the cost is of this product, but maybe you can find an alternative, right, that would provide just the fruit itself, because if you stop taking this, the bacteria will stop being in your gut, right? So they will stop living. They cannot survive. So,
well, thank you so much. Okay, this was so fun.
Yes, thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
been a great talk so far.
I know. I feel like we should continue this. I don't know, at some point. I've just learned so much from you. Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for sharing, your time, obviously, and your wisdom with us as well. Thank you, Jedid.
Thank you so much.
A huge thank you to Jedid. Make sure to tune in for our next episode with the owners of the new Toronto spot, Social Llama, where we discuss their personal journey with dietary needs and the rigorous cooking protocols used to ensure their guests don't get glutened. See you then on Life Without Gluten.
Gluten is such a unique thing that even if there's a small amount of cross-contamination, there are people who are sensitive to it.
Right.
So we have to make sure that everything is segregated. Like in our kitchen here as well, we have segregated fryers. We have properly labeled them.
Perfect.